Hello, and welcome to another webinar presented by Magnetism. Today we'll be covering the feature of Sentiment Prediction Routing Tool within Dynamics 365 Customer Service. But before I do, I'd like to briefly introduce myself as usual. My name is Simon Rowe, and I'm a functional consultant at Magnetism Solutions. So here in Magnetism, we like to stay on top of features such as these so that we are meeting our values of having excellence through mastery. So when we provide service to our clients, it's at the best state possible. So without further ado, today's presentation will give you an overview of what Sentiment Prediction Routing Tool is and how it can be utilized to enhance the experience that your customers or clients have with your business. So what is it? Sentiment Prediction Routing Tool is a feature within Dynamics 365 Customer Service that automatically routes cases and or work items to agents based on the sentiment value given by clients. So this is done through predetermined rules to classify work items and assigns them to the agents who have the best skill sets to deal with them. So how many times have you personally called into a business to ask for assistance, already quite frustrated because you have this burning inquiry that has been unanswered, but have been made worse when the agent you're dealing with has no clue how to deal with the situation? So with the use of Sentiment Prediction Routing Tool, this can be minimized, and your customers or clients will be less frustrated when dealing with your business. Let's take a look at when this feature would be useful in a real life scenario. So here we have like a case management scenario where a work item or case is assigned to an agent without the use of Sentiment Prediction Routing Tools. First up, a case is created, add the relevant sentiment or feedback associated with it from the client or customer. Then the administrator has to assess the case and see if the feedback or sentiment is positive or negative. Then the administrator is to search for the case owner or the agent best equipped with the skills and or expertise to handle the case. And then lastly, the administrator will assign the case to that agent or the case owner. So from this scenario, we can already see there are some quite unnecessary manual interventions that are required by another person, which in this case is your administrator. They are needed to assess the nature of the case and then also required to find the correct agent or case owner to assign this case to. Now, if we take a look at how this process can be improved with the use of Sentiment Prediction Routing Tool. First up is the same, the case is created and the relevant feedback or sentiment associated with it from the client or customer. Then the Sentiment Prediction Routing Tool will assess the sentiment level based on the description of the case that is from the client. Doesn't have to be a description, this can be anything else. And then the case is automatically assigned to an agent or the case owner with the right skills and expertise to deal with the case. So we can see here from using Sentiment Prediction Routing Tool, it eliminates the whole process of requiring this administrator to be able to first up assess the case and the sentiment level, and then also to find the correct agent with the right skills to be able to deal with the case. So saves them a lot of time and gives them time to work on other areas of the business where they would be creating more value for the business. Now moving on, we can have a look at some of the benefits that you can expect from using the Sentiment Prediction Routing Tool. First up, as I've been talking continuously about, is that it minimizes the administration time. So your administrators don't need to be involved in the process, as it automatically assesses and assigns the work items to the correct people to work on, and makes your agents or case owners quick to respond, as the cases are automatically assigned. Agents and case owners can quickly respond to the clients based on their feedbacks or sentiment. Quite easy to set up, as with most of the other Dynamics 365 features, you don't need coding to set this up. Just need to set up rules and routing rules and train the model, and all is well. And lastly, your customers are more satisfied because the cases are assigned to the correct agents to work on. And the last thing you want is an unhappy customer turning into an angry customer. With this said, we can now take a look at an example I have created. So here we have our case management Dynamics environment. And if we go to add a new case, say like a leg injury, this is like a injury management system, and then look for a client here and say Steve injured his right leg falling from a tree. He is unhappy about the experience he had with his treatments received. All you need to do from here is save and route, and then it will just confirm that you want to route this case. And when you do so, it will take about 30 seconds to a minute for the routing rules and all that to apply and route to the correct person and the correct queue for it to get assigned to the correct agent. But if we go into one that I've created previously already to save some time, we can see that from the routing tool, it was added to the low sentiment queue because of like the keywords that is picked up from the description, and then it was assigned to student 12 who would have been in that low sentiment queue with the right skills and expertise to deal with the case. And from here, what student 12 would do is go into the client's record and have a phone number or email, quickly press the email or the call button. Most likely in this case, we would want to call the client. You would press the call button, discuss with him why he felt unhappy about the treatment he has been receiving, discuss all that, and then once that has been all discussed and arrangements have been made for maybe different treatment provider or something like that, you can go back to the case, resolve the case, and say talk to client about why he was unhappy about the treatment. And just go resolve. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And last thing I've added to the process is to have a flow, send out an email to the client to give them confirmation that their case has been resolved. And all it does is just, hi Steve, who is the client, your recent case for whatever the case title was has been resolved. And then you can add like a few little survey or a link to a survey or something to give feedback regarding their experience dealing with your business. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the whole process. So you can see here that it's quite quick with the sentiment prediction routing tool, how all of that would be automatically assigned to the correct queue, to the correct agent to deal with. And I'll be showing you very quickly where that is all, how that all happens. First up, how to set up this sentiment prediction routing tool is that you would have to go to the service terms here, go to service configuration, and enable unified routing. So this is only if you never used unified routing within your environment, but if you already have, then you don't need to worry about this part. So I'll give you a brief warning about this part here, is that if you turn on the unified routing for the first time, it takes quite a while for it to all set up. So for me, I think it took about 4 to 5 hours for it to actually turn on. But then I realized when I tested it out after that, there were still some features that weren't available till the next day. So I'd advise you that if you are enabling unified routing for the first time in your environment, to give it a full day for it to be all enabled. Once that is done, under unified routing, by the way, this is all done in Customer Service Hub and within service management within the area. And then you would go to user attributes here in unified routing. Once it's enabled, go to the sentiment prediction for routing preview. And then all you need to do is press this button here to enable it. And once that is done, what you would first want to do to build the routing system is to first create the skills. So why you would want to do this is that you would want to assign like a low sentiment skill to your agents, so that you're giving them a skill, you're assigning them a skill to have, that you would want to assign these work items or cases that have these specific skills to be assigned to them. So I've created this skill for low sentiment and added my user student 12 into it. So now he has this low sentiment skill associated to him. And once that skill has been assigned, you would want to go to your advanced queues. So what this area is for is that you want to set up a queue for where your low sentiment work items or cases are routed to. So usually you would go new queue and then go into your queue, and then add in your users by going add users here and add in student 12, and then at the assignment method, so how the work items or cases that come to this queue is assigned to the users within the queue. What I've done here is create a custom method. So if I go into it, what I've done is create a rule set within this assignment method to assign the work items based on the skill level. So if the skill associated with that work item or case exactly matches with the skill that the user has within this queue, then the work item will be associated to them. So if, say, a low sentiment queue item came into this queue, but the user doesn't have that low sentiment skill associated to them, then it won't be assigned to them. So it would have to exactly match all the skills that are associated to that work item or case in order to be assigned to that specific user. And how it is assigned is by a round robin rule. So it's just that if all the users within that queue, it would be assigned to them in order. If it has been assigned to them before, then it would go to the next person, the next user, and then the next user, and then it go back to the first user when work items have been assigned to them all. And then once that is done, you would want to go into your work streams. And when you come in here for the first time, you want to create a new work stream. Go into it, giving it a name. First thing you want to create is an intake rule. So what conditions need to be met in order for your work items or cases to be routed to this work stream, which in my case I have created so that the case title needs to contain the word injury in it, and since my environment is all about injury management, it would always have that injury in the case title, and then it would map to the work stream of the low sentiment work stream, which is this work stream. And then secondly, you want to create some work classification rules. So first of all, you would go in here and go into see more and create a new work classification rule. The first one I've created is a machine learning model, so how the machine routes it to the correct queue and things like that. So first of all would be the sentiment routing. So the case or the work item, based on the description, will pick up the sentiment category. So for example, in this one, it would pick up words such as unhappy or injured as like the negative factors for the sentiment level, and then would route it to like the low sentiment queue. And then second of all, I've created like a manual work classification rule. Remember how I've created that skill to be assigned to users for low sentiment? You also need to create it so that a skill is assigned to your work item or your case so that it matches with the skill that is associated with your users. So with the low sentiment, I've created such that it's a sentiment category that it picks up from the description equals negative, slightly negative, or very negative. Then the skill associated to that work item or case would be low sentiment, set to low sentiment. Once that is all done, this is where you would create the routing rule to which queue it would go to. So for this one, I've set it so exactly the same as before. If the sentiment category they pick up within the case description equals to slightly negative, negative, or very negative, then it would send it to the low sentiment queue where you saw that student 12 was in, and then it would be assigned to student 12. That's pretty much it for all the routing rules and work classification rules and things such as that. And then the thing I want to show is the diagnostics of how these work items or case is assigned to the correct user with the right skill sets. So if you look here, you can kind of see, you can kind of see from like intake of how that work item or the case was assigned to the correct work stream, which in this case, as I've set up, is that if that case in the case title contains the word injury, then it would send it to the low sentiment work stream. And then what kind of keywords it picked up in terms of the low sentiment, and like as you can see here, picked up a few words here that like they're unhappy or injured. So it picked up that it is a negative sentiment within that case from these keywords, and that send it to and then associated a negative sentiment to that case. And then also because it was a negative sentiment within the case description, it applied that skill to the case, the low sentiment skill to this case, so that it can be matched with the skill level of the agent that will be assigned to. And then with that negative sentiment, it has been assigned to the low sentiment queue, as I've set up the routing to queue rules that if it is a negative or slightly negative or very negative sentiment, then it'll be assigned to the low sentiment queue. And then lastly, within that queue, whoever was in it, it would assign based on the skill. So since the skill associated to this case in this scenario was that it's low sentiment, it was assigned to student 12 as it matched with that low sentiment skill that had been associated with student 12. So from here you can kind of see that eliminates that whole procedure of having an administrator do all these things such as sentiment routing and attaching a sentiment to the work item and then routing it to the correct queue for the agents to pick up, or assigning it to the correct agent. And first of all, you would have to distinguish which agents are available or like have the correct skills to be able to deal with these cases. They're all unnecessary and all done automatically just by setting up some rules within the sentiment prediction routing tool. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to show today. So in conclusion, I've shown you how sentiment prediction routing tool can be used to enhance the way your business engages with your clients and or customers, and being able to automatically have these work items assigned to the correct agent is quite important, so that the correct agent with the right skills and expertise are always dealing with these cases, and in the end of it all, it gives positive experience to your clients or customers. And other than that, so even though this feature is still in preview, um, I'd still recommend you to give it a try, and any recommendations that you can see that you would want to feedback to Microsoft, you can do so. And yeah, thanks for your time today.